Hello everyone, and welcome to the Model Aquatic Health Code Network webinar. Today's presentation features presenters Michele Hlavsa and Commander Joe Laco from CDC. Please use your computer speakers to listen to today's presentation, and there will be no chat box today, as this is a re-recording of a previously held live webinar. So this is not being recorded on Tuesday, May 22nd. However, this presentation is on the content for Healthy and Safe Swimming Week. So NACCHO, in recognition of Healthy and Safe Swimming Week, is providing this webinar and has also posted a featured blog post on our Essential Elements of Local Public Health blog. You can visit that at the link provided. In addition, our next webinar is coming up in July and will feature Dr. Michael Beach, the Associate Director for Healthy Water from CDC. The topic will be the new edition of the Model Aquatic Health Code, which will be released this summer. Don't forget to join the Model Aquatic Health Code Network, which contains a lot of really helpful resources for implementation. You'll receive updates on the webinars and have access to all of our archived webinars as well. So in order to receive those updates and be a part of the network, please email your name and affiliation to macnet@nacho.org. And without further ado, we will hear from Michele Hlavsa, epidemiologist for Healthy Swimming and CryptoNet at the Waterborne Disease Prevention Branch. Thanks for being here, Michele, and take it away.
Thank you. So this talk is going to focus on the 2000 to 2014 outbreaks associated with treated recreational water, so our pools, our hot tub spas, and our water playgrounds. So just to make sure we're all on the same page, an outbreak is defined as similar illness in 2 or more persons. These people need to be epidemiologically linked by location and time of exposure to recreational water or pathogens or chemicals aerosolized or volatilized from recreational water into the surrounding air. The reporting system includes the 50 states, District of Columbia, U.S. territories, and freely associated states, all which can voluntarily report outbreaks to CDC via the waterborne disease and outbreak surveillance system. The reporting period here is, as I said earlier, 2000-2014. 2000-2012 data were previously summarized. The 2013-14 data were reported to CDC by December 31st, 2015. All told, 46 states and Puerto Rico reported almost 500 outbreaks, which affected at least 27,000 cases and resulted in at least 8 deaths. Here at this pie chart, we summarize the 15 years of outbreak data. We see that cryptosporidium in and of itself caused 43% of the outbreaks. So 42% were caused by cryptosporidium itself, and an additional 1% or 4 outbreaks were caused by cryptosporidium and Giardia. The next leading cause of outbreaks was Legionella, followed by Pseudomonas. Approximately 20% of the outbreaks had an unidentified etiology, and the remaining etiologies were chemicals, viruses, Giardia, and other bacteria. In this bar graph here, we're looking at outbreaks over the course of a year, summarizing the 15 years of data. The light blue bars represent cryptosporidium. The orange bars represent outbreaks caused by Legionella. The gray bars represent outbreaks caused by Pseudomonas. The yellow bars represent other identified etiologies, and the dark blue bars represent unidentified etiologies. You'll note that cryptosporidium caused the majority of outbreaks in June, July, August, months that we saw most of our outbreaks. And then in March, there was also a blip up, or a second mode, where most of the outbreaks were due to an unidentified etiology or caused by Pseudomonas. Over the course of the years, the outbreaks seem to have been increasing, whereas between 2000 to 2007, we definitely see an increase. 2007 was a particularly bad year for cryptosporidium. We're not sure whether that was caused by the fact that cryptosporidium caused a statewide outbreak in Utah and in surrounding states. There might have been one multi-state outbreak, counted as several outbreaks, or what was going on there, but that could be a possibility that we counted multiple outbreaks instead of just one. The other thing going on here is we see cryptosporidium kind of stabilized after 2007 in terms of annual numbers. However, we see the yellow bars increasing over time, the orange bars increasing over time. So we see an increase in outbreaks caused by Legionella. The gray bars, on the other hand, we see are decreasing over time, actually disappearing by 2012. These are outbreaks caused by Pseudomonas. Cryptosporidium is a parasite that's extremely chlorine tolerant, and that's why we're seeing it as the leading cause of these outbreaks, because our primary barrier to transmission of pathogens in the treated recreational water is chlorine, and this is a very chlorine tolerant parasite. It's transmitted when a diarrheal incident containing the parasite occurs in the water, and that contaminated water is ingested by others. So our big prevention messages to our aquatics operators and to our public health partners is to check out what recommendations in the Model Aquatic Health Code, or the MAHC. I've included the URL here. That gives you ideas on how to at least prevent further transmission if someone has a diarrheal incident in the water. It talks about UV and ozone treatment. It talks about hyperchlorination, for example. And it also talks about educating swimmers and parents of young swimmers about not swimming when ill with diarrhea, so keeping cryptosporidium out of the water in the first place. And that's our primary message to swimmers and parents of young swimmers. Don't swim or let kids swim if sick with diarrhea. And of course, since we know that chlorine doesn't kill and bromine doesn't kill pathogens instantly, it's about not swallowing the water you swim in. In terms of Legionella, it's a bacterium associated with biofilm, and it's transmitted when aerosolized water droplets containing the bacterium are inhaled. The primary prevention messages, again, are focused on looking at recommendations within the Model Aquatic Health Code and aquatics and public health collaborating to educate swimmers. For swimmers, it's about checking out the last inspection score. Is this a well-maintained hot tub or spa? Doing your own mini inspection, using test strips to check the chlorine or bromine level, as well as checking the pH, making sure that that pH is where it needs to be to maximize chlorine's or bromine's ability to inactivate or kill pathogens. It's also about educating the public about who's at increased risk for Legionnaire's disease or Pontiac fever. Those who are 50 years of age or older, cancer patients, people with chronic disease, particularly chronic lung disease, and those with weakened immune systems are at increased risk and should avoid hot tubs and spas. It's not only about getting in, it's about not being around them and inhaling the aerosols and the mist coming off of them. Next, Pseudomonas, the bacterium also associated with biofilm, is transmitted when skin comes in contact with contaminated water. That could be in the skin in general, where a bathing suit is holding contaminated water onto the skin and causing what we know as hot tub rash or Pseudomonas folliculitis. We see bathing suit shaped rashes quite often with this, and also otitis externa or swimmer's ear, when water sits in the outer ear and causes infection. The key prevention messages here are, again, in the Model Aquatic Health Code, such as making sure we're cleaning our surfaces that are wetted frequently enough, scrubbing, making sure we're limiting biofilm in the water and on the wetted surfaces, and working to educate swimmers, again, checking inspection scores and doing their own mini inspection. In terms of Healthy and Safe Swimming Week, it is the week before Memorial Day. We don't have 2018 data available yet, but for 2017, we have more than 225 broadcast stories, reaching a total of 8.9 million people. Our social media coverage included over 3,500 tweets and an estimated reach of 88 million. And we did a Twitter chat last year that reached approximately 5 million people, or Twitter users, and had over 500 participants, had over almost 1,300 total mentions when using the hashtag #HealthySwimChat. So this is just to show you how interested the media and the public are about healthy and safe swimming messages the week before Memorial Day. And it's a great opportunity for us to get these messages out to help keep the public healthy and safe in the summer and year-round. So this year's focus is to increase awareness of recreational water-associated outbreaks and steps to prevent them, and our target audiences are swimmers and parents of young swimmers. We released in early May our communications toolkit. We apologize that it came late. It just got hung up in the approval chain here. It includes community or outreach suggestions, lists of resources, so URLs, on CDC's website, the Consumer Product Safety Commission's website, and EPA's website. It has a sample press release, a sample feature, a sample proclamation, and some social media messaging that our colleagues in the state and local health departments are more than welcome to. And here's the URL for where you can access the toolkit. The promotional activities that we did for Healthy and Safe Swimming Week this year included a cdc.gov homepage feature to get the messages out, fact sheet updates, and content syndication. Content syndication is when actual pages or content at CDC can be adopted by our external partners. When you use syndicated content, when we at CDC update our content, the content is automatically updated elsewhere. And the nice thing is it doesn't look like CDC content. It looks like the website's content. So, you know, we're kind of updating the information on behalf of our external partners based on the latest science. Social media, we had a Facebook Live event last week on Monday. We released new graphics and GIFs. We did an Instagram story. We used the hashtag Healthy Safe Swimming Week 2018. We did blog posts. We did Gov delivery announcements. We put out a press release, and we had a radio media tour last Tuesday where we did 23 interviews in 4 hours and got to get the message out on national radio as well as big markets like Chicago. So we were very excited about the opportunity. If you're looking for print materials, there's a Healthy Swimming brochure, and there are printed and laminated pool chemistry safety posters. One covers use, the other covers storage. One side of each is in English and the opposite side is in Spanish. We also have infographics, buttons, and other promotional materials. They're available at the URL provided here. And I'll turn it over to Joe.
Great. Thank you so much, Michelle, for providing that current sort of landscape and updates of recreational water illness and how they relate to both Healthy and Safe Swimming Week and the Model Aquatic Health Code. So, Joe, thank you for being here today, and the floor is yours.
Thanks, Michelle. Thanks, Grace. I'm going to be talking today about a new idea of how we can digest and comprehend this thing we call the MAHC, the Model Aquatic Health Code, this beast of a document. So first off, I wanted to give a little bit of background about what the MAHC is. The Model Aquatic Health Code is a voluntary guidance document based on science and best practices that could help local and state authorities in the aquatic sector make swimming and other water activities healthier and safe. States and localities can use the MAHC to create or update existing pool codes to reduce risk for outbreaks, drowning, and pool chemical injuries. The MAHC guidance are all-inclusive and address the design, construction, operation, maintenance, policies, and management of public aquatic facilities. The MAHC is maintained and updated through the Council for the Model Aquatic Health Code, the CMAQ, and that used to do so on a 2-year cycle. So the first MAHC came out in 2014. Then the second edition came out in 2016. Oh, I'm sorry. First came out in 2016. 14, 16, 18. 18 is going to be the third edition of the MAHC on the previous 2-year cycles. Moving forward, we're going to be moving to a 3-year cycle to give us a little bit more time for the review process, as well as opportunities for people to provide input on the needed changes. So moving forward, the next 4th edition will be in 2021. So the MAHC is broken up into sections. These large chapters, chapter 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then each chapter is broken down into parts, subparts, sections, paragraphs, and subparagraphs. The headings, formatting, numbering, spacing, and coloring remains consistent throughout the document and is found similar in both the code language as well as the annex documents. So here's an example of what you'll see laid out for you in the MAHC. This is, let's see, 4.9 is going to be our part, the filter and equipment room. The subpart is the equipment room. 4911, that's our 4-digit nomenclature, is going to be the section. The 5-digit is the paragraph for the non-absorbent material 49111. And that last one there, the teal color, has 6 digits. That's what we're designating as the subparagraph. And the digits and the numbering and the nomenclature remains consistent throughout the document. So some of the big sections of the MAHC are going to be sections 3, part 3, 4, 5, and 6. Part 3 is going to have a lot of the acronyms, initialisms, and glossary of terms. Here in the federal government and throughout government, we like to use lots of acronyms. So you'll find those defined for you in Part 3. The design and construction, Part 4, the construction of public aquatic facilities plays a vital role in making swimming a healthier and safer activity for millions of Americans. Filtration and halogen disinfection post-filtration prevents transmission of most infectious pathogens in the water of aquatic venues. Public aquatic facilities can be designed to minimize the risk of drowning, entrapment, and pool chemical exposures. Part 5.0, Facility Operations and Maintenance, focuses on proper ops of public aquatic facilities and is an important part of health and safe swimming. Following specific operation and maintenance, state and local requirements, as well as CDC recommendations, the MAHC, it could help prevent recreational water illness and injury. Part 6, Policies and Management, provides managers who are responsible for taking the steps to prevent pool-related health and injuries at their facilities, mechanisms for doing so. Studies have shown that pools with operators who have successfully treated formal training have better water quality than pools without trained operators, and better water quality leads to better health for swimmers. Now you may have noticed on a couple of the previous examples, I'm going to go back, you can see there where it says general requirements, 4911, and that little superscript A. A superscript A means that there is available information in our supplement document that we call the annex. The annex is a separate document. Here we go. And the annex was developed to support the MAHC code language and is meant to provide additional help, guidance, and scientific and best practice rationale to those responsible for using the MAHC. Statements in the annex are intended to be supplements and additional explanations. They are not meant to be interpreted as MAHC code wording or used to create enforceable code language. But instead, the annex gives further scientific and best practice explanations of why certain recommendations are made. It discusses rationale for making the MAHC content decisions. It provides a discussion for the scientific basis of selecting certain criteria, as well as discusses why other scientific data may not have been selected. It states where areas where additional research may be needed. The annex also discusses and explains terminology used, and it provides additional material that may not have been appropriately placed in the main body of the suggested MAHC recommendations. This will include summaries, scientific studies, charts, graphs, tables, and the like. The annex also is not subject to CMAQ membership voting and is kept up to date on a regular basis here at CDC when new information becomes available. The MAHC itself is a very large document. It can be quite intimidating, especially to decision makers and legislatures. The second edition, the 2016 code, was 289 pages. With the supplement document, the annex in 2016 was over 370 pages. When trying to get jurisdictions to adopt guidance that's listed in the MAHC, it could be quite a challenge to get buy-in with such a large document and so many pieces of paper to go through. The MAHC itself, though, was designed to be adopted, of course, in its entirety, but also in sections. And partial adoption, grabbing out specific language, grabbing out things that address your needs, or helping to fix a problem can be one way to utilize the MAHCs, short of adopting the entire document. But this can be quite time-consuming to go through 289 pages of the code language and 371 pages of the annex to pull out just the relevant information that you're searching for to fill your need or your gap or address your problem. So we came up with this concept that we're calling mini-MAHC. And it falls in line with this partial adoption concept. Mini-MAHCs were developed to help make the MAHC more concise and easier to use to tackle a particular public health concern at an aquatic venue. The mini-MAHC links directly to content in the code language and annex documents and allows operators, inspectors, and regulators to quickly locate information to address aspects specific to a certain area of safe pool operation and management. The relevant sections of the MAHC are presented to not only help solve a problem, but to also prevent future illness and injury. So in short, it makes the MAHC more digestible. You don't have to comb through the whole MAHC to find the specifics on exactly what you're looking for. So it reduces your effort and saves an awful lot of time. Mini-MAHCs can be used proactively or also reactively. The pooled material from both the code language and the annex addresses certain problem area and consolidates it into one concise document. I'd like to note that the annex will be a separate document. So there'll be a mini-MAHC that addresses code language and then a supplement document of the associated annex materials will be secondary. But it consolidates into one concise document. Mini-MAHC's rationale is to provide a shortened version of the MAHC that is topic specific to make it more digestible and not as long. A shorter document to present to decision makers and legislatures will be better received and not as intimidating. The mini-MAHC allows for faster answer to an exact question. It focuses on where the MAHC is most progressive and forward-thinking for change towards prevention and risk reduction. And this will have a familiar look if you are already familiar with what the MAHC and the annex already look like. We're going to be pulling out sections from Part 4, Part 5, and Part 6, so design and construction, the ops and maintenance, policies and management, and putting those into one document that addresses only one aspect. The numbering, coloring, spacing, nomenclature will have the exact same appearance as you are used to seeing in the MAHC. So things that are color-coded one way in the MAHC and the annex will be the same as they're presented in the mini-MAHC. Also, the upcoming third edition of the MAHC in 2018 is going to have some format and design changes, so the mini-MAHCs will fall in line with the latest MAHC release, which will be the third edition this summer. All right, our very first one that we are going to tackle is cryptosporidium prevention. We know this is a relevant and significant problem in the United States, as mentioned by Michele earlier today. And cryptosporidiosis is a disease that causes watery diarrhea. It's caused by a microscopic germ parasite called cryptosporidium. Crypto, for short, can be found in water, food, soil, or on surfaces or dirty hands that have been contaminated with feces of humans or animals infected with the parasite. Crypto is very tolerant of chlorine, as Michele mentioned. It can stay alive for days, even in well-maintained pools, and can cause prolonged diarrhea. Once the pool has been contaminated, it just takes a small amount of water for someone to be infected if they swallow it. During 2001 to 2010, crypto was the leading cause of water disease outbreaks in the United States linked to recreational water. And it is found throughout the U.S. and in every region and throughout the world. And I put this picture on this slide here. It's one that's pulled from CDC's website just because I think it's a really cool picture. That's an oocyst. That's the and part of the crypto life cycle that is infectious that you will find in the water, and that is containing 4 sporozoites within. So what is it going to look like? I want to give you an example of some pulled material that we have developed already from our first mini-MAHC for cryptosporidium prevention. It's been reduced down from those hundreds of pages down to just 7 pages of code material. These are all of the parts that you'll find in the entirety of the MAHC that only pertain to oocyst and cryptosporidium. So our first example here that I'm going to show you pulls from Part 4, Aquatic Facility Design and Construction. And you can see the different sections, subparts, paragraphs, and subparagraphs as it pertains to log inactivation of oocysts. So we chose to focus on the crypto first, largely because it's a preventable, and the MAHC has a wealth of crypto reduction tools embedded within. Mini-MAHC will help you not have to weed through the whole MAHC to find what some of those prevention techniques are. Focuses on contamination and diarrheal illness associated with the ingestion of cryptosporidium oocysts. So 7 pages down from 289 pages will be a much more concise document. Much easier for a decision maker, a legislature, someone who's in a position to prompt change, to get those on the table and reviewed, as opposed to a giant over 280-page document. So this talks about reduction of oocysts, relog inactivation from Part 4. Let's go through quickly another section, Part 6, Policy and Management, and diarrheal stool contamination. And there are number 1 and number 2. Talk about how to do that. And you can see there the superscript A means that in the supplement document you will find scientific rationale, background material in the annex. And here's an example of the annex from that section we just saw on the previous slide. The annex was reduced from over 300 pages down to just 34 pages. These are the 34 pages that you'll find in the annex that have to do with cryptosporidium prevention. So, what are we going to be doing next? Well, first, we're going to plan to release the third edition of the Model Aquatic Health Code with the most recent edits and changed by the membership of the Council for the Model Aquatic Health Code. That is planning to come out this summer in July. And the first mini-MAHC release will be shortly thereafter, focusing on cryptosporidium prevention. But we want to also know on what are some of the other topics, what are some of the other mini-MAHCs that we want to prioritize? What are the ones we want to get issued first? And we figured this would be a good way to address the local needs at the state, county, city level. What are some of the gaps they have in their current code? Or what are some of the problems that they frequently see that they're constantly needing to assist with the public venues? These are some potential topic areas. Of course, the first one will be crypto outbreak prevention, but also there's hygiene and diaper changing, chemical gassing prevention, lifeguard supervision and drowning prevention, policies, checklist, reporting, maintenance documentation, operator training, and others. These topics that were presented on the previous slide are some of the larger sections of the MAHC that cover an awful lot of ground and that are buried within, spread throughout, and we felt would be a really good way to get them condensed into a shorter version. When we did the live presentation of this during the NACCHO MAHC Network webinar, we proposed a live interaction question about what topic areas that you would like to see. And far and away, the largest response we got in our poll that we were able to put up was for the checklist and the maintenance documentation. So that will be one of the next ones that we see after we publish the crypto mini-MAHC. Now, as Michele mentioned, we have quite a bit of information, tools, toolkits, guidance materials available to help people with the operation and maintenance of their swimming pools and spas. So I wanted to highlight some of those that we have worked with and developed at CDC, whether it was internally or with some of our partners. The first part is our inspection form. It's formally called the Model Aquatic Health Code Aquatic Facility Inspection Report. This is available on CDC's website, and I'll show you where the link for the MAHC website is on cdc.gov page. But a critical part of the standardized approach to inspection is using a common inspection form. This allows for data to be analyzed and compared across inspectors or even jurisdictions. So CDC developed the MAHC inspection form to support this piece. I believe it has 47 or 49 inspection components on it. They are each listed there and each designated with a point value. So there is a scoring mechanism involved with this. Right now we have this set in a PDF format that someone could tailor to their own code that they already have or fit some of their own needs on the way they conduct their inspections. The inspection form is pretty straightforward, but it does lack some of the details and explanation of what inspection point means. So we developed a set of instructions for the inspection form, and we've called this document the cheat sheet. And it goes through each inspection item with a little bit of an explanation. You'll see some of them are listed there in bold. Those are the ones that have been designated a critical violation because they pose immediate public health risk to bathers and need to be corrected immediately, or the facility needs to be closed until that correction can be made. Most recently, we developed the cross-reference guide. The cross-reference guide was developed for use in the field while conducting an aquatic venue inspection and for report development. The reference guide links the MAHC Aquatic Facility Inspection Report to content in the code language and the annex documents. The reference guide allows an inspector to quickly locate code language requirements and supporting information in the annex needed to develop a comprehensive and detailed inspection report. The reference guide lists the most important code language and annex elements that you will find in the MAHC Aquatic Facility Inspection Report per item number. So looking at the screen here, right where it says pool and spa area, that corresponds to the section on the MAHC inspection form. And item number 1, enclosure, fencing, walls, gates, and doors in good repair. So the cheat sheet will give a little bit of explanation about that. But the cross-reference guide tells you exactly where in the MAHC and in the annex you will find material that outlines enclosures, fencing, walls, and gates. Lots of times inspectors are going to be approached by operators or members of the public that say, where does it say that? Show me where it says I have to do that. This is a quick cross-reference guide that allows you to point exactly where it's found in the MAHC and the annex. We also had the release of an app. CDC worked with external partners and developed an app for the iPad that was released this past March. It's called Aquatic Inspector. Aquatic Inspector provides a digital version of the MAHC inspection form. So it's the e-version of the PDF form that I just showed you. But it also includes embedded MAHC text. So the app allows environmental health practitioners to integrate CDC's latest science and best practices, the MAHC, into routine follow-up and investigative inspections of publicly treated aquatic venues. Aquatic Inspector is free to users. It does include free and searchable cross-reference text to the MAHC. So it already has a built-in cross-reference guide to it. It also allows users to have the ability to link photos to inspection reports, ability to record data on site and print, save, and share inspection reports. And it's important to be that it's for iPads only, compatible with the iOS 9 or later. So if you try to do a search on other platforms, not in the App Store, but in the Google Store on other Android smartphones, you probably won't see it, as well as iPhones. You probably won't see it available there. It's just right now only available for the iPad. We did this presentation live last week. We've got a lot of feedback in the chat box about training. Training on how to use that form, how to use the app. Well, you're in luck. Right now, CDC, myself, have been in partnership with the National Environmental Health Association to develop MAHC inspector training. So in order for inspection data to be accurate and comparable, a standardized approach to inspection is needed. And this first starts with inspector training to a common standard or training program, which could be the MAHC. So we've developed an online training tool with the support of the National Environmental Health Association, and we plan to release this this summer in 2018 with the exact date to be determined. We are all done with the material and are currently in the piloting stage of the online training. It'll be housed on NEHA's LMS system, so their online learning portal, and it will provide instructions on how to conduct a basic pool inspection. I and myself and Crystal Tate at NEHA will be doing a presentation at this year's national conference in California, the NEHA AEC. We'll be giving a presentation on the MAHC inspector training to showcase the training and provide a live demonstration of what it's going to look like and how it'll work as it relates to not just the MAHC code, but the inspection form, the annex, and the reference guide as well. Here's the website that I promised you on cdc.gov/MAHC. All of the tools that I just talked about are available there, including the inspection report. The CMAHC, they're the organization that helps maintain the MAHC as well as keeps it current and relevant with the regularly scheduled updates and revisions to the MAHC. They have a really neat tool on their website where it allows you to dig into the MAHC on an electronic version of the document for quick searches for keywords and relevant terms. And of course, we have our NACHO MAHC network and the frequency of our webinars. Our next webinar is scheduled in July and will feature Dr. Michael Veach. He works with Michele at CDC in the waterborne disease section, and he will be highlighting some of the changes to the 2018 third edition release of the MAHC. Just wanted to give a shout out to a few of my colleagues here at CDC, particular Michael Beach, Commander Coons, Michele, who presented before me, as well as Maggie and Elaine. Doug Saget, I work with him regularly, and he is the Executive Director of the CMAHC. And of course, some of the projects that I've been working with, National Environmental Health Association, particularly Crystal Tate. If you ever have any questions about the MAHC, adopting the MAHC, language within the MAHC, any of the available tools that you can find on cdc.gov, we have a general MAHC inbox where you can send an email, or you can feel free to email me directly, and I'll always be glad to provide assistance. I am not the end-all, know-all when it comes to pool regulations or even the MAHC. But if I don't know the answer, I definitely have access to the resources that can get you pointed in the right direction. And at that point, this concludes the presentation on the introduction of the mini-MAHC concept. And please be on the lookout in the coming months after the release of the 2018 MAHC for different topic areas and mini-MAHCs.
Great. Thank you so much, Joe and Michele, for coming together today to record this webinar. As Joe mentioned, there were some Q&A from our live webinar that will be available on the NACHO website. So go ahead and check that out. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this recording today, and have a great day.
The chairperson has disconnected. The conference will now end.